Heartwarming moment, Black CEO faces mockery from white peer at billionaire Gala. In the glittering halls of the Grand Hotel, the air buzzed with gossip and laughter. Waiters glided between tables adorned with white tablecloths and extravagant floral arrangements. It was a billionaire gala, a spectacle of wealth and success. But amidst the jewels and silk, there was a heart-pounding moment that would reverberate through the crowd, a moment that shook the very foundations of privilege. When Raheem, the Black CEO of a rising tech company, stepped into the room, heads turned. His confidence radiated like the diamonds sparkling in the chandeliers. He was a symbol of triumph, of breaking barriers. Yet, as he approached a group of white peers, the atmosphere shifted. A scornful chuckle broke the polite chatter. "What's a tech boy doing here?" spat one of them, his voice dripping with disdain. Gasps rippled through the guests. Raheem's chest tightened. For a split second, he felt the world close in around him, the laughter like sharp daggers piercing through the excitement of the night, but instead of retreating, he stood tall. Tears threatened to spill as he recalled the struggles of his journey, the late nights, the doubters, the sacrifices. Raheem took a deep breath, grounding himself. The murmurs of the crowd intensified, a strange mixture of sympathy and indignation. His gaze met the eyes of a young woman across the room, her expression one of encouragement. She nodded slightly, and in that moment, he found strength. Raheem stepped forward, his voice steady but raw. "I am here because I earned it, because I believe in the power of innovation and inclusion. We are changing the game." The room fell silent. Every face turned, eyes wide with shock. They could feel the weight of his words, a mixture of defiance and hope that hung in the air like the finest silk. Before continuing, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Raheem's heart raced as applause erupted. Disbelieving yet invigorated, he turned to see the reactions behind him, whispers dancing in the air. Some were awestruck, while others bore scowls of disapproval. He felt the energy shift, sparks igniting in the room. He'd done it. He'd lit a fire in a crowd that had been smothering identities for too long. But the night was far from over, and the true test lay ahead. Would his courage inspire others or ignite a larger confrontation? As the crowd buzzed, Raheem's mind spun with questions. What would happen next? Raheem stood there, heartbeat thundering in his chest. He had just spoken to a room full of titans. The applause echoed, each clap a pulse of adrenaline. But as he glanced around, he sensed the division. People who had just a moment ago been sharing laughter were now baring their teeth, some in admiration, others in contempt. A man in a tailored suit rolled his eyes, muttering something to his companion. Raheem caught the words token and diversity hire. The warmth of the applause faded, replaced by the cold sting of judgment. Why was it so hard for them to see? He wasn't there just to fill a spot, he was there to shift the narrative. Through it all, the young woman from across the room remained in his thoughts. Her gaze locked onto his, filled with a mix of pride and encouragement. It reminded him of his mother, who had always believed in him even when the whole world doubted. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the memories wash over him. The long phone calls filled with rants about the barriers he faced, her soulful voice always advising him to stand firm. Suddenly, he felt a tap on his shoulder. It was the woman who had stood out in the crowd, her smile radiant against the backdrop of opulence. That was powerful, she said, her voice soft yet urgent. You changed the energy in this room. Thank you, he replied, finding a note of gratitude in his heart. I just wish they could understand. They will, she interrupted. No one expected you to fight back. You showed them strength. You opened a door. Others will follow you. Her words tingled like a bomb on his uneasy spirit. Before he could respond, a commotion erupted nearby. Raheem turned to see the source, a group of men closing in on him, led by the one who had mocked him earlier. He couldn't see the man's face clearly through the sea of bodies, but the tension was palpable. "Nice speech," the man sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "But we all know you'll never fit in here. This is a club for winners." A heaviness loomed over Raheem, and he instinctively braced himself. Part of him wanted to lash out, to educate this man on what true winning looked like, to explain how resilience often bore the sweetest fruit. "Actually," Raheem said, his voice cutting through the crowd, "I already fit in. What you see as a barrier, I see as an opportunity for all of us." Silence fell. The air thickened as those nearby leaned in, some ready to take sides. Raheem's chest tightened again, but this time, he felt a wave of solidarity from others around him. Whispers unfurled like butterflies as more guests began to express their agreement. "Who is this guy?" Another voice called out from the periphery. "Why don't we hear more from him?" The man's mocking expression faltered, confusion flickering in his eyes. Raheem felt a rush of connection, a current of shared experience igniting around him. This was his moment. But then, a woman's voice pierced through. "What are you so afraid of?" She challenged, and he turned to see another ally stepping forward. "Change? You're right to try and push back. It means you're privileged enough to stay comfortable." The moment was electric. The room seemed to tilt toward a new direction, one where unity could triumph over division. But Raheem knew the conflict wasn't over yet. Although the momentum shifted, waves of doubt and judgment still loomed ahead. As Raheem's heart raced, he realized the comfort of solidarity was bittersweet. His journey was just beginning, and with it came the weight of expectations. He turned back, his heart pounding. What if this night transforms everything? He whispered to himself. The thought ignited a spark of hope within. Would he be able to stand up against the tide? Would others rally with him? The air was thick with possibility, and danger. The night was far from finished. Raheem stood amidst an unexpected swell of support, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he processed the revelation that maybe he wasn't alone in this fight. He could feel dozens of eyes on him, sensing their curiosity, their validation. Each gaze was a thread, pulling the fabric of the room tighter as if weaving something new from the tension. The man in the tailored suit looked momentarily flustered. He shifted his weight, glancing around as if seeking refuge from unwanted attention. Raheem seized the opportunity. "You talk about winners," he called out, voice rising above the murmurs. "Tell me, what does winning look like to you? Is it merely standing on the backs of those you deem lesser?" A gasp rippled through the crowd. Raheem's boldness surprised even him, sending shockwaves through the group. A few people exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from disinterest to intrigue. The energy was different now, colder for the mocker, warmer for Raheem. The woman by his side crossed her arms thoughtfully, her eyes sparkling. "Yes. Tell them," she urged, the embers of courage dancing in her voice. Raheem felt a surge of encouragement, her belief fueling his resolve. Winning isn't exclusive to those who play dirty or climb over others. Real winners lift each other up. Raheem's voice held a passionate edge, and even he felt the heat of his words. True victory comes from collaboration, understanding, and respect. And I'm proud to stand here, representing a different way. Thunderous applause broke out, echoing through the elegant hall. Raheem's heart fluttered, a blend of joy and disbelief. This was unexpected. Did he just begin to shift the narrative? He barely had time to process the thought before the suit-wearing man scoffed, trying to regain some semblance of control. "You're naive if you think that's how the world really works," he retorted, his bravado returning. Few can actually afford to be so idealistic. That's where you're wrong, Raheem shot back, feeling the fire of conviction rising within him. I may not have your privilege, but I have vision. I have dreams that belong not just to me, but to millions waiting for their moment. It's precisely because I've faced these challenges that I know what's possible. The clapping grew louder, organic and unyielding. Some guests stood, others joined in the chorus of encouragement. Confidence radiated off Raheem as he realized his voice was not just his own, it embodied a multitude yearning to be seen, heard, and validated. In a heartbeat, everything felt charged with possibility. Yet, the anxiety flickered in his stomach. What if it all crumbled? What if the walls he had just begun to breach slammed shut again? He searched the room, locking eyes with the young woman who had encouraged him. She nodded, mouth curving into a smile. Her unwavering belief reminded him of home and made the weight of vulnerability lighter. As the applause finally settled, Raheem's heart was still racing. We're here for change, together, he declared, eyes scanning the crowd as he spoke. Let us open channels, let us embrace what we haven't embraced before. It's time for something new. As waves of agreement flowed through the audience, he saw disbelief wash over the mocking man's face. Raheem knew this was just the beginning. Hope felt tangible, and with it, uncertainty danced. He didn't just want to fit in, he wanted to break barriers. This was more than a personal battle, it was a collective journey. But as he caught sight of the door leading to the balcony, a flicker of doubt tugged at him. What if stepping outside made everything unravel? What if embracing the night's potential came with risks he hadn't yet considered? He balled his fists, heart thumping loudly in his ears. This was more than about him anymore. Would he have the courage to lead? Or was he setting himself up for heartbreak? The air crackled with tension and anticipation, and the night was far from over. Raheem took a deep breath, trying to steady the whirlpool of emotions battling within him. He could still feel the warmth of the crowd, it enveloped him like a comforting embrace, but underneath, a storm was brewing. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, destined to ripple beyond this moment. He felt as if the room was holding its breath, waiting for the next act. Are you all ready for change? He called out, sensing the momentum build again. The applause surged like waves crashing against rocks, powerful and unyielding. A fire ignited in his chest, forcing him forward. He stepped away from the confusion of the suited man, moving toward the edge of the balcony. The night air was electric. Raheem gazed out over the vibrant city lights twinkling like stars that had fallen to earth. Beneath him, life pulsed and throbbed, he could almost hear the distant beats of samba echoing through the streets. It resonated with his heart, reminding him of home, of all the dreams he'd carried within him. He turned back to the crowd, momentarily lost in their faces, each one a mirror reflecting his deepest fears and hopes. Among them, the woman who had encouraged him stood out. She beamed at him with a fierce pride that made him feel invincible. She believed in him. And that belief sent a jolt of courage through his veins. Together, he continued, we can create a new path. The gathering murmured in agreement, his words weaving through their hearts, binding them to a shared vision. Yet, something else tugged at him, a gnawing sense of urgency. They were gathered, yes, but the journey stretched far beyond this event. There were still battles to be fought, voices still to be discovered. As he spoke, the imposing figure in the tailored suit tried to regain control of the narrative, making a dismissive gesture. But Raheem wasn't deterred. He was ready to take the fight to a bigger stage, to challenge the very structures that had kept countless others in the shadows. The old ways are crumbling, he declared, his voice echoing like thunder through the room. It's time to stand for something new, to embrace our differences rather than hide them. We have stories that deserve to be told, talents that deserve to shine. A wave of applause thundered in response, urging him onward, giving him the grit he needed to push through the doubt. Yet at the same time, Raheem's mind flickered with thoughts. Could this be just the beginning of pushback? Would his voice be enough to break through the barriers that had oppressed so many? Then, in that moment of hope, an unexpected thrill washed over him. He raised a fist high, a symbol of solidarity. "This is our time. Let us seize it." The room erupted, but amid the cheers, Raheem's heart clenched. Would they really stand with him when the road got rough? Were they ready to challenge their own truths, to confront the uncomfortable? The applause became a deafening roar, but his mind reeled at the potential challenges looming ahead. As he basked in the adoration, doubt clawed at his resolve. It wasn't just the call to action, it was the fear of failure that stalked him like a shadow. With the energy of the crowd swirling around him, a decision formed in his heart. He had to take the risk. Not just for himself, but for the countless beings who needed to feel seen and heard. But then before he could articulate his next thought, he noticed a movement in the periphery of his vision. Someone was making their way through the crowd, a figure determined and resolute, and with them, a look in their eyes that sparked both fear and intrigue within Raheem. What did they want? Would they bolster his fight, or would they aim to silence him? All he knew was that their presence could change everything. Raheem's gaze locked onto the figure weaving through the throngs of supporters, a heaviness settling in the pit of his stomach. The crowd buzzed around him, but he felt a shift, a silent pulse that seemed to draw everyone's attention to this newcomer. Who were they, and what did they want? A shiver of apprehension coursed through him. As the figure stepped closer, he could make out details: a sturdy frame, dark hair slicked back, eyes piercing and confident. They radiated an unwavering resolve that stirred Raheem's fears and instincts alike. He was an anomaly, a threat, or potentially an ally. The tension in the air thickened, and Raheem could hear the rustle of murmurs ripple through the audience. "Do you know them?" he whispered to the woman who had been his anchor, the one with the bright smile that encouraged him. Fear danced in her eyes as she shook her head, urging him to focus. The newcomer stopped at the front, tilting their head slightly as if assessing the situation. Raheem felt every heartbeat reverberate in his ears. Would this person challenge his call for unity? Or did they have a different plan altogether? Uncertainty draped over him, but he had to press forward. He couldn't allow fear to define this moment. "Let us welcome our new friend," he declared, his voice booming despite his inner turmoil. He had to put his trust in the crowd, let them connect with whoever stood before them. The figure raised their hands, and the crowd fell silent, intrigued. The energy shifted as an air of expectation settled in. Raheem felt his heart race. What would this newcomer say? "Your message resonates, Raheem," the voice rang out, smooth and powerful, like a velvet gliding through the air. "But I wonder if you know what you're truly asking of these people." Each word hung beneath the open sky, pressing against the tension that filled the space. Raheem noted the sharpness in the eyes staring at him, challenging yet inviting. Are they really ready to face the discomfort? To confront what lies beneath the surface of our so-called unity? There was a raw honesty in their tone that held the audience captive. "Together, we can forge a new path," Raheem reiterated, trying to keep his own voice steady. But doubt crept back, relentless, threatening to snuff out the flames of courage he had built. Did they have a point? Were they right to question their readiness? The crowd blinked, caught in the gravity of this dialogue. Murmurs began again, a mixture of inspiration and apprehension. Raheem could feel eyes darting between him and the newcomer, the atmosphere shifting from electric energy to a tense stillness. "I'm glad you're here to push this conversation," Raheem replied, his heart pounding louder than ever. "But unity requires more than just words. It requires action." Then, there was a pause, the air heavy with anticipation as they exchanged glances. The stranger's countenance softened slightly, as if they understood that the fight for change was larger than just one person standing on a balcony. "How about instead of a challenge, we offer a proposal?" They took a step forward. "Let me help you amplify this message. Let us not only dream of unity but implement it in ways that shatter the barriers you seek to dismantle." Raheem's breath hitched. This was unexpected. A chance to ally with someone who held ground in finance and media could change everything. But could he trust them? Let us see, he said, his heart racing with a dangerous mix of hope and skepticism. But you need to know, this is personal for me. The crowd leaned in, their attention fixated on the unfolding moment. Would Raheem let down his walls enough to embrace this uncertain alliance? As the stranger nodded, acknowledging his words, a new determination ignited within Raheem. This was just the beginning of his journey into fight and understanding, but questions swirled restless in his mind. What would this partnership mean for his vision? What more awaited as their stories intertwined? The path ahead was as uncertain as it was thrilling, and Raheem felt the excitement stir deep inside. He closed his eyes for a second, tuning into the thumping of his heart against the backdrop of the lively crowd. This was a turning point, one that could illuminate the dark corners of truth. But just then, a shadow passed over him, and he turned to find a pair of predatory eyes fixated on the two of them, waiting to exploit any weakness. Raheem's stomach twisted, the eyes of the predator cutting through the crowd's energy like a knife. This wasn't just a spectator, this was trouble. The figure, a tall man in a sleek suit, stood at the edge of the throng, arms crossed, a sneer etched on his face. His presence sent ripples of unease through Raheem. "Who is that?" he murmured under his breath, barely loud enough for his companion to hear. She didn't have to answer. The tension in her expression spoke volumes. The newcomer beside Raheem, a seemingly powerful ally, seemed to sense the shift as well. They narrowed their gaze at the man in the suit, the muscles in their jaw tightening. "Looks like someone's been waiting for a chance to disrupt this moment," they said, their voice steady, though Raheem caught the slight tremor of their hand. Full of grit, Raheem straightened his back. "Let us not allow intimidation to win. I'm not backing down," he declared, projecting confidence he didn't fully feel. "Good," the stranger replied, a spark of determination igniting their eyes. "But it's essential we stay focused. Don't allow them to pull your energy away from what matters." As if on cue, the man took a step forward, mirroring Raheem's posture. "You think you can change anything here? This crowd? This unity?" His mocking tone slathered disdain, prompting the crowd to turn their attention toward the altercation. "You're wasting your breath, Raheem. This is just a circus act." Raheem felt a deep breath form in his chest, steadying him against the sharp jabs. Surely, he had faced adversity before. Just not like this. Not in front of those who looked up to him. The crowd murmured, buzzing with a mix of anticipation and concern. "Maybe this is a circus," Raheem replied, his voice slicing through the tension. "But every revolution starts with a dream. And I refuse to let anyone strip us of our hope." The deafening silence that followed seemed to swallow the jeers of the man in the suit. Raheem could sense it, even the whispers around him shifted, swaying toward his side. "Do you hear that?" The newcomer stepped closer, their voice charged with excitement. "They want to believe." Raheem pressed on, the warmth of this unexpected partnership bolstering his spirit. "We might not have all the answers, but we will work together. We will face our fears. This is about all of us moving forward." The passion in his words ignited some simmering fire in the hearts of the people. Faces brightened. Eyes gleamed with renewed energy. The tide was turning. Suddenly, a voice rang out from the back. "And what do you know about our struggles?" A woman with fierce eyes pushed through the crowd, crossing her arms defiantly. "Why should we trust you?" The newcomer next to Raheem stepped forward, their demeanor calm yet undeniably assertive. "Because we recognize together we're stronger than apart. I grew up knowing pain, and I understand the weight of your struggles. Let us illuminate those shadows together." There was a pause, a heartbeat where silence lingered over the crowd. Their expressions were mixed, but cautious optimism began to shine through. Raheem could see that they were starting to connect, beginning to trust the duo before them, but just as things were shifting in a hopeful direction, a storm of anger erupted from the man in the suit. "This is ridiculous. You think they will follow a songbird's tweet of comfort? You don't know what true leadership requires." The crowd gasped, shifting nervously. Raheem braced himself. The fight wasn't over. He took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage for what was coming. True leadership is about listening, about understanding. His voice rose above the noise. It's about lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. The atmosphere crackled with energy. Raheem could feel it building like a wave. Would it crash or would it support him? As all eyes remained fixed on him, the predator's eyes burned with malice, eager for his misstep. Could Raheem hold steady? Would the unity he fought for survive this storm? The stranger beside him nodded, their presence a small but sturdy anchor in the turbulent sea of emotions swirling around them. If combined voices could uplift, what would this moment transform into? Before he could replay that thought, a loud commotion broke out on the edges of the crowd. A shout rang through the air, drawing attention away with alarming speed. What now? Raheem thought, anxiety twisting his insides. What new challenge awaited just out of sight? Raheem turned, his heart racing as the crowd's energy shifted again. The commotion came from a cluster near the makeshift stage, where an older man was being pushed. He shoved people out of the way, fists clenched in indignation. Raheem's instinct kicked in, he needed to intervene. "Stay here," he told the stranger beside him, his voice firm but low. They nodded, eyes alert. As Raheem edged through the crowd, he could hear snippets of heated conversation. "You think you can just come here and take over?" The older man shouted, his face flushed with rage. His outburst was directed at a younger volunteer trying to calm him down. "Sir, please, we just want to discuss the event," the volunteer said, their voice trembling slightly. "This is about unity, not conflict." Raheem could feel the tension in the air thickening, his stomach rolling with anxiety. Was this a setup? The suit-wearing predator seemed to meld into the chaos, feeding off the discord. Raheem stepped closer, ready to amplify the message of hope once more, but he needed to tread carefully. "Hey!" Raheem boomed, drawing attention toward himself. The crowd turned, faces flickering between anger and curiosity. "What is happening here?" The older man spun around, eyes narrowing. "Who do you think you are, young man? You don't belong here. This is not your fight." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Raheem could sense the unease rising again. But he wouldn't back down. "I am exactly where I'm meant to be," he replied, voice steady. "This fight is ours, and every single person here has the right to speak." "What do you know about fighting?" The man sneered, trying to regain control. "You're just playing pretend." That stung, and Raheem took a moment. His breath hitched, but he felt the warmth of solidarity from the crowd, keeping him grounded. "I know that we don't have to be alike to stand together," he said, layering his heart into every word. "I know that everyone here has stories, struggles, victories. You may not trust me, but I trust you. All I ask is for a chance." The older man sputtered, struggling to catch his breath amidst the mounting pressure. The crowd was leaning forward, hungry for connection, searching for a leader willing to embrace all of them, and then Raheem saw her, the fierce-eyed woman who questioned him earlier. She took a step forward, sincerity blooming in her expression. "I've seen this man stand up for us. He listens. He understands." A voice that listens? The older man looked challenged, the weight of the crowd twinkling in his eyes. "What kind of leader is that?" "An honest one," Raheem shot back. "We're not perfect, but we're here because we believe we can change things. Together." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Raheem felt it, the hopeful tremors of a connection being forged right before their eyes. The man continued to scowl, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. Raheem pressed on. "This is about us coming together to help those who feel lost, to create something beautiful born from struggle." The moment hung there. Raheem could feel the weight of each heart in the crowd pounding, a rhythm of hope pressing against the fear. But just as he felt the tide turn in his favor, the man in the suit moved from the background, a glint of triumph in his eyes. "It's already too late," he shouted. "You'll all fall apart. Watch as they tear this group to shreds, just like they do every single time." Raheem's heart jolted. Would they fracture under this new onslaught? He could already sense the wavering confidence amongst the crowd. This was the moment everything could unravel. "Hold steady," he shouted, desperate. "Remember why we're here." But in that moment, doubt crept in, flickering in the faces surrounding him. Could he reignite the light amidst this growing darkness? As Raheem searched for anything to reconnect them, a hand clasped his shoulder. It was the stranger, their grip reassuring, silently urging him on. But could he find the words that would bring them back from the edge? The shadow of the predator loomed larger, and the weight of his task pressed heavily on his heart. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement, a child, weaving through the crowd with a small but bright sign that read hope. That flicker was theirs to grab hold of. Would it be enough to turn the tide back to unity? The sign bounced lightly on the child's small frame, captivating every pair of eyes around. Hope. A single word, so powerful it shimmered like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Raheem felt a wave of determination wash over him. He had to seize this moment. "Look," he shouted, pointing toward the child. "Look at that. That's our power. That's what we're fighting for." Eyes were drawn away from the antagonism in front of them, shifting towards the innocence of a child holding a simple message. Raheem felt the nervous energy of the crowd start to sway, a gentle movement toward unity. It was as if the word hope resonated in their hearts, spilling over like water from a fountain, fresh and rejuvenating. The older man, still simmering with anger, glanced at the child and then back at Raheem, his expression momentarily shifting from fury to confusion. For a brief moment, the tension in his face faltered. Raheem pressed further, using the energy in the air to lift them up. "Hope is what binds us. It's the reason we came together today," he continued. "This is not about dividing us, but about finding strength in our differences." As murmurs of agreement began to flutter again through the crowd, the woman's voice broke through, clear and steady. "We came here to listen, to share, to stand strong together. Let the child's message remind us." Raheem locked eyes with her, a silent exchange of purpose binding them tighter. It was clear she wasn't alone. Others in the crowd were beginning to nod in agreement, encouragement igniting like fire. "Let us create a new story," Raheem urged. "One where we support each other, lift each other, and grow together. A story where every voice matters." The child smiled as if they understood the gravity of the moment, raising the sign higher above their head. Raheem's heart swelled. Was this the moment they needed to reclaim their collective strength? The man in the suit noticed the change. He gritted his teeth as whispers turned into shouts of support, each statement breaking away his intrusive grasp over the crowd. "No. You can't fall for this. This is madness." His voice cracked, desperation spilling from him as the tide turned, but the crowd was on the brink, ready to embrace a new way forward. Raheem could feel it, could sense their spirits rising, the weight of fear lifting like the morning mist. "Remember who we are," he shouted. "Remember our stories, our dreams. Let us lead with love, let us lead with hope." The crowd began to chant, voices melding into a harmonious symphony, each person reclaiming their sense of belonging. Hope. Unity. Together. Raheem looked around, realizing the power they wielded collectively. It was infectious, widespread. Laughter erupted among them, breaking the tension, knitting them closer as if with every sound, they wove new bonds. But as the cheers echoed through the air, a sudden somberness broke through the fervor. The older man's face blanched, and Raheem caught that glimmer of uncertainty creeping back into the crowd. "Can we really do this?" Doubt flickered across faces again, the predator shifting ever so slightly at the edge of the chaos, still lurking, still waiting, Raheem's chest tightened. Together we can. He spoke, but the question hung there, unspoken but heavy. Would they really have the courage to embrace this newfound hope? The child glanced up at Raheem, eyes wide with innocence and hope. Can I hold your hand? They asked softly, as if becoming the living embodiment of the unity they all craved. Raheem knelt down beside the child, determination igniting in his heart. Yes, let us hold hands, and become the change we want to see. As he extended his hand, the crowd began to reach for each other, uniting in a living chain of hope. But just as the connection formed, the man in the suit stepped forward again, a sneer taking shape on his lips. Good luck. Change never lasts, he taunted, his voice dripping with contempt. Raheem stared at him, heart pounding. How would they silence that voice of doubt? How would they turn that taunt into power, into strength? Let us show him. Raheem yanked his hand away, gripping the child's tiny palm tighter, the ripples of the crowd stretching far beyond, ready for a revolution like none before. What would it take to transform the taunts into triumph? Would hope withstand the test of doubt? Raheem's heart raced as he felt the energy of the crowd swirl deeper around him. With the child's small hand in his, he turned back to face the throng. The myriad faces, a gallery of hope and uncertainty, reflected a myriad of dreams and fears. Listen to me. He called out, his voice breaking through the murmurs. This is more than a chant. It's our lives. Each one of us has a story, a battle fought in silence. Let us amplify our voices. The older man in the suit glared back, a looming shadow in the brightness of the moment. Desperation twisted his features. You think you can change people's minds? Raheem's grip tightened on the child's hand as he felt the electric buzz of resolve crackling in the air. We don't change minds with anger, we change them with understanding. His words were like fireworks bursting in the night sky, igniting something deep within the crowd. Behind him, the voices of the people began to rise, familiar phrases of support, rallying cries echoing in unity, what felt like years of bottling frustration released in just a few moments. Raheem glanced at the woman who had spoken earlier, her eyes sparkled with fierce determination, but doubts, like shadows, crept back over the faces in the crowd. Raheem saw them. Lips trembling, eyes darting around, uncertainty grasping at hope like a thief in the night. He inhaled deeply, letting the warmth of the child's hand guide him. Sometimes, it feels easier to give in, Raheem called out, his voice softer now, more personal. To let fear dictate our choices. But if we were to let hope in, if we choose each other over fear, we can transform our world. The child's wide eyes remained fixed on him, a tiny beacon of light amidst the grown-ups' turmoil. Will it really be different? They whispered, hope shining through their uncertainty. Yes. Raheem responded with fiery passion. Not just for us, but for you. For your future. At that, a ripple of energy coursed through them. Some in the crowd began to step closer, their hands reaching out to bridge the gaps between them. There was a shared vulnerability, a desire to connect, a longing for change that transcended their individual fears. Raheem's voice grew steadier. Together, we can knock down the walls built by years of neglect and pain. Together, we can be a force for love and understanding. In that moment, the air shifted. Voices melded into a crescendo of support, accentuated by staccato claps, cheers, and laughter. The older man's glare darkened, his hesitation dissipating, frustration palpable, but he was losing control. Take my hand. Raheem shouted again, extending his reach as he gestured toward the others in the crowd. Hands reached back, connecting, intertwining in a dance of hope that spiraled outward. A wave of warmth surged over Raheem, it felt electric, alive and tangible. With each grasp, each connection, they formed a circle, a unity, symbolizing what they were standing for. Love, kinship, strength, words made flesh. Together. They shouted, voices mingling, a powerful affirmation that pushed back against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. But in the midst of this brilliant moment, Raheem caught sight of the older man stepping back, his expression morphing into something darker. "You think this is enough?" he spat out, desperation creeping back into his voice. "You really think this will protect you?" Raheem's heart sank momentarily, the doubts clawed back into the edges of hope. "What will you do now?" he wondered, a question rippling through the circle. "What will happen when the reality of our struggle sets in? Can this unity survive the harsh daylight?" The crowd began to murmur, their energy shifting again, uncertainty mingling with the blossoming warmth. As they looked around, it became clear that their instincts were fighting against fear, but could they withstand the pressure? Raheem took a breath, squeezing the child's hand with reassurance. "We will show him. We will rise, because hope is not a one-time moment, it is a commitment, a journey to walk together. So are you with me?" The air hung heavy with anticipation as they awaited their answer, poised between hope and doubt, ready for the next step in their story. Would this be the moment they began to build something real? Would the power of togetherness shatter the darkness? Raheem's voice rang through the dim light of the gala, a beacon piercing through the night. He felt the thrum of the crowd pulsing, their adrenaline coursing. Are we ready to redefine what it means to lead? Each word felt like a step forward. Each gaze locked meant everything. The child beside him, beaming with dreams in wide eyes, grasped tighter, and Raheem knew this was his moment. Shadows danced at the edges of the gathering, but hope soon surged again, fed by shared stories, voices rising together like a chorus of hearts echoing in defiance against the silence that tried to enclose them. The older man's sneer faltered as the warmth of the crowd's agreement wrapped around him. "You won, break us!" Someone shouted from the back, a rallying cry that gained momentum. Raheem felt that fierce energy lift him, and he continued, overridden by determination. "This is a chance for all of us to stand tall. No longer on the sidelines, but right here on center stage." He gestured to the balcony, the city below alive, vibrant, echoing the stories meant to be shared. "Let us raise our voices for those still waiting in the shadows." Cheers erupted. People pressed closer, hands reaching out into hands, a tapestry of humanity fusing under the weight of unity. A magnetic connection sparked something powerful, a revival fueled by love and tenacity. The crowd became a force, faces transformed from uncertain to resolute, each heartbeat syncing with Raheem's words. The man in the suit bristled, unwilling to accept the shifting tide. "Pathetic. You really think you can change hearts with sweet words?" he hollered, disdain wrapping his words like a chain. But the once tense crowd now flowed like a vibrant river, undeterred by his negativity. Raheem locked eyes with his co-workers, friends, even strangers who remained steadfast in belief. "We are unbreakable." His declaration soared higher, hands lifting, each one an affirmation toward solidarity. "Let us build bridges, not barriers. Let us create spaces for all. Because in our diversity lies our strength." The energy in the hall pulsed and swelled. Lightness replaced fear, joy filled spaces once clouded by doubt. Applause broke barriers and barriers broke apart. Cheers erupted, filling the void the man had sought to impose. At that moment, a tap on Raheem's shoulder caught his attention, and he turned to find the woman who had supported him throughout the night. "You did it. You turned the tide," she exclaimed, her face radiant, a testament to the bonds forming around them. With renewed vigor, Raheem gripped the child's hand and raised it high. This hand, this reach represents every child waiting for a future full of hope. "Will we stand together?" The audience roared in agreement. "Yes," echoed back, a chant building with fierce energy. But Raheem's heart felt fleeting concern. Those same walls of judgment still loomed outside. They had made progress to what could hold it together. He took a breath, feeling the warmth from the circle they had formed. Change is a continuous journey. Are we ready to walk it together? "We are," they shouted back, with voices like a gentle tide pushing towards one horizon. "Together." Raheem smiled, pride swelling within him. As the applause resounded, he saw the disbelief melt on the older man's face, the tightened grip of doubt slowly loosening. Perhaps, just perhaps, unity resonated louder than hostility. Let us bring more people into this circle. To listen, learn, and share. Let our stories intertwine, and from there, a new path will form. Raheem continued, the crowd buzzing, swelling with expectation and joy. Forward together. They chanted, a life-affirming echo punctuating the air, a collage of hopes intertwined in every shout. Raheem knew the night wasn't just a battle won, it was the dawn of a new beginning. With the warmth of community, the whispers of resignation faded into the distance. They cracked open that door that had long been shut. People could glide toward it, choices made, new pathways dawning. As the crowd began to disperse, hearts uplifted, his voice lingered, a promise against the retreating night. This is just the start. Together, we are unstoppable. And with that, Raheem grasped the child's tiny hand tighter, feeling the hope they carried transmute entire lives and futures. Together they were just beginning to rise. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.